Pledge. Dear Lord, thank you for the many blessings you've given us and the town. We just give you all the praise and glory and thank you for that. Be with Taylor Ray and Justin tonight as they celebrate the homegoing of Justin's dad. Just be with them, let them know that you love them and that you're taking care of Justin's dad. Be with us tonight and just give us the wisdom and the courage to do what's best for the town. Everything we do and say, we give you all the praise and glory. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I meant to say also, David Scholl had a new grandson, right? Yeah, today? All righty, so, new grandson, that's always exciting. All righty, any public comments, Aaron? I don't think.
There's no one here except for staff and our.
All right, and all righty, well, we'll get to our Eagle Scout project presentation. So Eunice, you want to take over?
Yeah, of course.
Right. Good afternoon, council. Let's pull up, let's see this. Dan, you can come up here too. Dan was in the water a few minutes ago, hopped out to come present, and he's going back to a swim meet. After this, he has his bathing suit on underneath all of his uniform. So I was like, we'll make this quick so you can get back. But all right.
That's multitasking. Right?
Yeah, it really is. That is like some dedication. I ought to use this as an
That's next
excuse to
level.
just maybe go home after. But let's see. All right, there it is. So before Dan goes, I just want to give y'all some background on why he's here today. So he'll kind of dive in more into the project. But this was our Eagle Scout that came and did the project at Privet Park. So it is officially completed, but we really wanted to bring Dan back and just let you guys know what he did at the park. So Dan, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. So,
Do the arrows.
All you have to do is like click here too. Well,
I guess that's the wrong
that
key.
one.
So, if you look, we had about 4 or so work days, 4.5, if you would say. The first one was just me and my dad going to Lowe's and buying all the wood. And then that afternoon, we were cutting all the wood to specific sizes. And then second, we were just putting the two large posts that are on each side into the ground, and then putting the cross beams that hold the whole thing together. The third is the one I had with the full troop. That in those pictures is where all the people came. We were installing the backboard and roof and having all the in-betweens go in there. And on the fourth, me and my dad came back to finish the final touches of putting on rubber bumpers and caps on all of the exposed screws. So the first image that's up there is a young man named Samuel. He's cutting the metal roofing, which was a nightmare. And then we cut 4 panels of those, and they were all put on the roof. The second is him cutting what were 2x4s to go also in the roof. That third image is me and my older brother using an auger to get large holes in the ground for the post. The middle one on the bottom that's Joseph. He's putting in nails so that we can put the backboard in. And then the last one is, I think that's them getting one of the rims for the backboard in there. And then what was hard about this was, first off, the weather. That was always annoying with the play they had on us on the first Saturday, where they said it was going to be a 90% chance of rain, wake up Saturday morning, clear as the sky. And then before we could do anything, all the cutting we had to do to such specific sizes, and then the backboard that's in there, we had to trim that down Lord knows how many times to get that to fit. And then once we were done with the main project, we were done with it, and we looked at it, and we realized we didn't have enough screws. So there was a whole bunch of stuff left over, and we had to go back and put caps on everything and make sure it was all pretty. Then thank. Thank you for supporting my Eagle project. Thank you for letting me do this amazing task.
All right.
Absolutely.
So Dan, I just wanted to give you a certificate of appreciation from the Parks Department. Stuff like this is not easy. I mean, and it's got a free service to the town. I mean, I just think it's awesome. Y'all know Privet was such a work of love and you just made it a little bit better. So we just thank you so much. And it's people like you that just make it awesome. So thank you. You're gonna take
Got a
picture?
couple of questions. Remind me, where do you go to school?
Porter Ridge,
Porter Ridge, that's right. And are you a senior?
about to be a junior.
You'll be a junior?
Yes.
Oh, so you're way ahead of the Eagle curve, yeah.
Most people wait till the last minute.
And no doubt, yeah.
Ahead of the game.
I mean, most people are getting their board review on their 18th birthday.
Yeah. I won't say no to free help.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, so.
Well, thank you very much.
Want a photo? Yeah, of course. Come on, Dan. Awesome. I about put Dan the man on there. For your email, I was like, that's my favorite email I've ever reached out.
All right, thank you, Eunice.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. All right, we got the consent agenda. Graham has asked that we pull off E, the roundabout landscaping, to put it on the regular agenda, and then he's, needs to leave early. So let's make it 3A.
Move approval of the consent agenda A through D.
Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right. Reports, none from me. All right, Graham, you got anything?
No, Mayor.
All right, Heather,
No.
Stephen?
Sir, the only thing that I would have is what we'll probably talk about in 8.
Okay,
So I'll just wait till then.
all right,
Nothing for me.
nothing for you, all right. Alex?
Two quick items, sir. First, represented the town at the State Board of Directors for the NCDOT meeting at the Charlotte Motor Speedway a couple weeks ago now, so it was good to kind of build relationships with those folks and see who the people in charge are in Raleigh. Second, I wanted to recognize our Parks group led by Ms. McSwain for their wonderful, great bash at the Splash event. I was incognito there with my kids, not wearing any shirts, and overheard several people commenting what a fantastic event it was, which was certainly my experience. And Mr. Parker shared with me on the way in, he heard on, I guess, the DJ on the radio, basically commenting about how he went to the Stallings splash pad and had a great time too. So, Eunice, y'all are really making a difference. Thanks for everything you do. That concludes my report, sir.
All right. Chief, you got anything for us? Certainly this week. Any department heads, got anything? All righty. So the agenda approval, so we got the addition of 3A. Any other changes, amendments?
Yeah, we'd like to put a stormwater
Yeah,
discussion related to Twin Pines.
right.
I believe we have a memo for you. We can pass that at the time.
So just add Twin Pines under 5. So Kevin will talk about stormwater fees for departments and Twin Pines.
Sounds good.
I move approval of the agenda with the, as written, with the addition of item 3A, NCDOT interlocal agreement for the bypass landscaping. And then we'll talk about Twin Pines under item number 5.
All right, motion by Mr. Richardson,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Ayers, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, all righty. 3A, can you pull it up, Aaron? My computer is
Yes, sir. Yes.
locked.
Go to the internet, the agenda should already be up.
It's the whole packet.
It's page 26, Kevin.
All righty. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah. All right, Graham, go ahead.
All right, so bear with me. I know, I feel like we've discussed this before, but I also feel like this might have been something before my time that was discussed, and I was shocked by when I heard that by taking on this, taking over the maintenance from the state, that we would be incurring roughly $30,000 additional fees, maintenance costs every year. And I think while it's probably a great project and great thing that could be done, I just think that in this currently, with our difficulties with the budget, the fact that we might be looking at tax increases next year, wanted to discuss, should we be taking on something that's going to incur additional $30,000 fees for us going forward, when I know we have other projects that are also costing money. And I mean, I drive by this area coming here. It's not something to me that is an eyesore and is a major item that I think that needs to be addressed at the moment, especially since development's on hold anyways. So to me, it's just, is this something that we could punt and do later on? I don't know, just wanted to discuss it, because before we just approved it, do we want to enter in an agreement where we're tied for years and years to come to a massive expense?
I was kind of under the impression that we really didn't have an option. So is there an option here not to do anything?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, so, and when we say that, DOT would just say, okay, we're not doing anything, and they walk away, and we would have to do some kind of agreement saying that we're not going to do anything with them?
No, it'd just be like it is now.
Okay. Okay. I thought that there was already some agreement.
Well, to plant there is. Yeah, they're gonna put in all the plantings.
Okay, so they're going to put it all in.
They want
And
us
what-
to maintain it.
So we're basically getting, they're gonna plan it and everything, but the problem is that if we don't maintain it, it's just gonna,
Yeah, they won't plan it unless we maintain it. You know,
okay,
so the board, as y'all know, we've experienced it, right? Typically, the way this works is there's a base level maintenance. It's typically not satisfactory from an aesthetic standpoint to local governments, right? So anytime you ride on a DOT road, it looks maybe a little extra nicer, there are more plantings, it's extra trim, the grass is extra nice. It's usually the local jurisdiction or a local business that's kind of taking that on. Here, so it's not unusual that they would require us to kind of take over. I think the unusual thing here is that they're paying for the install. So there's definitely an option just to kind of leave it how it is. If we do that, then we wouldn't incur the maintenance cost. But in order to kind of get the enhanced landscaping that DOT is willing to kind of put in, we would have to agree to maintain it. If we ever wanted to stop maintaining it in the future, typically these agreements are written such that we would just have to go in and pay to bring it back to its original condition. Probably wouldn't be too high of a standard.
so how much would you estimate we're somewhat getting out of them?
Gosh, that's tough. It's a lot of landscaping. This is just a rough guess. Mr. Parker, you think couple $100,000, maybe?
That is tough.
Yeah,
I haven't even bid it out yet,
Yeah,
so for unit prices.
yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah, it's a lot more than 30,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 30,000 is a little high. That's $2,500 a month. High to me, but especially since we won't have to do mulch first year.
You know and it's probably designed to be a little high just because it's a budget number, right? But there will be a lot of work there. Just litter cleanup will have to be something that's done regularly there. There'll be to keep it the standard as it is, as we heard from the board previously, we don't think it's too far off.
Well, two things. This has been put off by DOT for at least 3 years. So it's, it's a signature intersection right in front of the hospital that represents the town of Stallings, and it just looks awful to me. Secondly, I've approached Atrium about helping with the cost share. I haven't finalized it yet, but I just can't believe I can't get $5,000-$10,000 a year out of them to help with keep the beautification of that strip right in front of the hospital. So, I can't guarantee it, but I just can't believe I can't, initially when I talked to them, they've given us, they haven't given me the big check for $50,000 yet, but something like, $5,000 to $10,000, I believe I can get out of them. So I just think it's, we spent $2 million on a road over here. We had to draw out $2 million in cash to cover some other projects. So $30,000 to me seems like a small amount of money to make our town look better.
And this is just right around the hospital area. It doesn't go any farther than where that area takes in. Once it closes up, there's no more landscaping at the far end.
It'd be more than just the hospital area. It goes across the intersection there. And there's some maps in here. We could look at them if y'all want. And then also the intersection of, I believe it's Marie Garris and Independence as well, that intersection as well. So and it does go down Stallings Road. I couldn't tell you the number of feet, but a decent way. It's not just immediately at the intersection. It also puts landscaping at the roundabout. You'll recall that when the board said, hey, we're not ready to do the signage right now in the middle of the roundabout, we did have the enhanced landscaping plans, and we gave those to DOT, and they're willing to incorporate that. So it does include landscaping in that roundabout as well.
And it looks like they're gonna do the maintenance for the first year, so we wouldn't see a cost until next year's budget. Is that right?
So, I mean, I'll be the devil's advocate. I'll just, one, I hate paying for something we're already getting, right? I mean, yes, this will be better, but to me, it's aesthetics and it's not something that is necessarily driving people away. We're not losing businesses. I mean, I doubt we're losing businesses because the roundabout doesn't look great. The hospital's already there. There's potentially going to be more growth, so hopefully maybe when those adjoining properties are bought up, maybe they'll be more willing to try and get the maintenance. But to me, this is in a period when we're saying we need to look at cost cutting. I can't justify logically spending more money for something we're already getting. And that's, I think, and it's, I mean, I would hope that when you're driving through, your focus is on the road and not like on some wonderful flowers off to the side or whatever it is. But I mean, I get it. It could look a lot better, and a lot of things could look a lot better. I mean, we have some other areas around town, but I also, when my neighborhood has serious road issues with, chunks of pavement coming up, and I'm hearing it from people, I don't know how I can go to them and then say, we might not have the money for all the road repairs we want, but we're spending $30,000 to beautify something that the state's already paying to maintain.
But they only maintain it 1 year.
No, this is us taking it over. Is that my understanding, right?
Yeah.
So
Would they
what I'm saying is like they're gonna maintain it. If we don't enter this agreement,
They're gonna maintain it as is.
yes,
Where
and
it
that's my
looks-
point.
Where it looks like,
Don't do the
it
project.
looks like crap.
It looks,
No, it doesn't look like anything but crap. That's,
Every year they'll come.
that's all it is. It's just dead grass
Yeah,
yeah,
right in front of a $1.5 million.
yeah.
If I'm a developer, I'm coming down looking at that corner, and I look what Stallings done down here. I say, well, I think I'll go somewhere else that's a little bit beautiful, more pretty. That would be me. So it just looks like crap. So I'll give my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, and I appreciate the question. I think it's a good question, particularly if you have the concern that you voiced. I get it, and you weren't admittedly here throughout all of the phases of the It's been a long time, so I mean, I appreciate the question. I guess where I stand is that it certainly doesn't rise to the level of public safety or roads, but I do find a place in my thinking for placemaking and beautification, and what we would get versus what would be the current state. I'm okay with a long-term plan, particularly that intersection. Again, I think from that area to our Monroe Road intersection is going to be sort of the future sort of corridor for growth. So I'm okay with it. I appreciate the question though, Grant.
So I don't know what the board wants to do, but if it's gonna be voted down, I won't call for a vote tonight, and I'll wait for David and Taylor Ray to come here, since it's in their district, you know, it's in their side of town, so what's the consensus?
Actually, it's in our districts.
The hospital? Yeah, it's in yours, yeah, but it's Taylor Ray and David's side of town, so.
Not at the risk of it failing. I don't know that there is a risk. I think it's probably worth punting to the next meeting though, so David and Taylor Ray can weigh in. Feels like it's a pretty big issue. Does it cause us any problem if we delay it?
We haven't had that conversation. I don't think so. Kevin's shaking his head, so I don't think so. No, sir.
I mean, I would vote for it, but I'm okay to wait as well.
I like the fact that we're getting 100,000 plus free,
Yeah.
and $30,000 worth of maintenance for a year, so. Okay.
Well, I mean, the consensus is, you know, Brad's told me he's gonna vote for it. I don't know what Heather's gonna do, but, you know, if it's gonna pass, I'll call for the vote.
Just wait, just wait.
Just wait, okay.
Alice,
What's that, Heather?
I'm fine to vote. I want to say that I agree. I'm fine to vote, but I agree that I think it's a ton of money when it could be spent somewhere else. I just, like, I was not expecting it to be such a high number, but it has been. I feel like this has been going on since I've been on here, and I would like to, we've done so much planning for it.
Yeah.
That I would like to move forward, even though I'm not thrilled at all about the cost.
I guess mentally for me, originally, you know, we were gonna put the sign down there.
But I'm not thrilled about the cost of anything.
And the sign
That's
was gonna
just
be
me.
like, originally was gonna be like 250 grand. So in my mind, 250 grand, that's like, you
That
know,
is true. I don't know if you were.
7-8
if you
years
were
worth
wrote
of this
that down,
maintenance.
yeah.
So and we've also went through an iteration where we went from stuff that needed higher, you know, irrigation to more of a low maintenance set of application, which also took the price down. So it's quite a bit less than where it used to be at, in my mind. So that was just kind of my thought.
All right, I'll call for the vote. Anybody want to make a motion? Brad?
Sure. Forget the action. Move to approve the Monroe NCDOT, Monroe Expressway NCDOT landscaping maintenance agreement.
Motion by Mr. Richardson,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Ayers. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
3-1, and motion passed. All right, thank y'all. All righty. I'll open the public hearing on the 2023-24 budget public hearing. So we don't have any public comments. So I'll close the public hearing on that and then turn it over. We got stormwater next, so wait on the budget message. So stormwater fees for apartments in Twin Pines. So Kevin, you're up. David's watching. He must have nothing to do. He said he would have voted for keeping it looking good. So,
Well, then I want to change my vote.
okay.
It's a tough call. Tough call.
And I'll actually,
This is what? Oh.
this will be the next item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I the only one that when you read Twin Pine, I have this Back to the Future
No.
scene? You know, where he runs over the tree and the mall's called Twin Pine, but he runs over one of the pines and when it goes back to the present, it's called the single pine or one tree,
Yeah, I
one
know
pine. Yeah, yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, take it away, Kevin.
Yes, sir. Good evening, council. Wanted to talk to y'all tonight because as a result of some recent budget discussions, sorry if I'm screaming in the mic here. As a result of some recent budget discussions as it relates to stormwater, council directed staff to look into a couple things. One of those things is to analyze our commercial impervious surface area for our commercial lots in-house. And in addition to that, looking into appropriate stormwater fees to apply to apartment complexes. For that first piece, staff is currently looking into and verifying the accuracy of our commercial impervious surface areas. And so once we get all that information updated, we'll come back to y'all at a later time and present that information. But we did look into the stormwater fee that is currently applied to apartment complexes. And currently, we only have one apartment complex, that is the Chestnut Farms complex that's right down there by the roundabout at Chestnut and Matthews Weddington. And they are currently paying one $46 annual fee like they are a single-family residential lot. And so that entire complex is paying $46, soon to be $67 with the recent approved budget or fee increase. But currently, that entire complex is just paying as a single-family residential lot. So with that, we know how much impervious surface area is produced and is within these sites. So staff believes that there should be an alternative stormwater fee applied to apartment complexes. And we think staff's got two viable options here. First option is what we recommend, and that is treating apartment complexes as commercial properties where we would calculate the equivalent residential units based on the amount of impervious surface area, just like we do with all other commercial properties. The second option is to apply the residential rate for each unit within that complex. So, for example, that Chestnut Farms apartment complex is 256 units, so the total fee would be 256 times 67. So that would be approximately $17,000 in revenue if we went the residential route. Staff believes option one is the most viable because the impervious surface is really what's contributing to the stormwater. If you're building vertically, that doesn't necessarily increase. It may add units, but doesn't necessarily increase impervious surface area. So we think treating these properties as commercial properties is the most fair and equitable way to get our increase in stormwater fee, but do it in the correct way to where we're basing it off of the cause of the problem.
How much revenue would be generated if you treated it as commercial?
It would be, so in the memo here, we've got it calculated at just over $11,000. So there's be a delta of about $6,000 if we did.
Missing a page, yeah.
It's not in there, but it was in something you said earlier.
Yeah, 11,000?
Yep.
So why wouldn't we want to do $17,000 option?
We certainly could. And again, just kind of touching back to the root of what causes a lot of the stormwater runoff, that is the impervious surface area. So a lot of these apartment complexes are units stacked vertically, and so they're not built horizontally, so they're not really increasing the impervious surface area if they're getting built vertically. But we're still taking into account the parking lots,
Yeah,
the
they've all-
amenity centers,
they've all
but.
got a parking spot, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I will say, if there are smaller units within apartment complexes, then that fee would decrease. So there would be a threshold there to where smaller apartment complexes may be more impervious surface, but less units, and may cancel out, and where impervious surface would be the bigger revenue generator.
All right,
I think the logical approach when you talk about residential units stacked on another one and then charging them both 67, that doesn't make any sense to me, at least. I like the commercial designation. I think that's how they're treated for a lot of purposes. So I like your recommendation. I'd go with that. That's my thoughts.
Yep, and then ultimately, that is the action requested tonight, is to decide what fee we should apply towards current apartment complexes, but future apartment complexes as well.
and then, as a commercial, how would you bill them?
So commercial is based off impervious surface area, and 2,060 square feet of impervious surface area is what we call an ERU, an equivalent residential unit. And so the new fee is now $67 beginning in fiscal year 2024, but it would be 67 per ERU.
Okay, so who gets the bill? The apartment owner?
It would be the complex, yes.
Complex?
Yep,
gets it. So it's up to them to pass that
distribute
along.
through the
Right.
residents,
Okay,
yep.
gotcha. All right, comments from council? Anything else on the apartment?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Any comments? You've heard Brad's recommendation.
I think from a legal standpoint, it kind of feels like by all categorizations, it's a commercial product. So that sounds like the right way to go to me.
Well, plus you don't have to worry about, they're not gonna have 100% occupancy.
That's right.
So this way, you put it to the complex, let them worry about it.
And renters don't typically pay property taxes, and that's where this is put into, right? It's asserted on to their tax bill.
It would be paid by the property owner, either option. I mean, it would pass through the same way.
Yeah.
It's just trying to figure out the underlying calculation, if I understood you right.
Yeah. Okay.
Am I wrong?
No, I just wanted to make one comment. Sorry, I didn't want to throw you off.
No, you're fine.
We do have a second apartment complex in town. I know we discussed this earlier, but I forgot to tell you. It's the 55 and up Embryon apartment complex as well. I just wanted to make sure that it's off.
Yeah, where's that at?
Chestnut.
Here at the roundabout.
Oh, yeah. It
I just wanted to make sure.
feels
that
like
was on the
Indian
record.
Trail, but it's right across from the
That's right.
Village.
Thank you.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Oh, yeah. I'm not even sure where that's at still. I'm trying to figure that out.
Right behind the Walgreens on Chestnut. I mean, I'll make a motion, y'all.
Yeah, anybody-
Just one question. If apartment has like an outdoor pool, does that get factored into the calculation?
Yep, yes, sir.
The land?
That would be impervious surface, yep.
Good question. Well, Ms. Cox had
It's actually a retention pond, isn't it? It actually retains stormwater. That's interesting.
Because these changes are not included in the budget that the public hearing was held for tonight, we are required to hold another public hearing before you change stormwater fees and advertise for that.
what y'all could potentially do, and Mayor, this might be my suggestion, Ms. Cox, please correct me if I'm wrong. If y'all want to approve the budget tonight, not pushing y'all to do that, but if you choose to, you can do that, and then we can come back and make this minor adjustment at the next meeting to the public hearing.
We can approve the budget tonight on the same night that we had the public hearing?
Just the regular budget, yes, sir. You can approve the budget as long as you have the public hearing prior to that approval.
To come back later for this stormwater tweak.
Again, I'd hate to vote on the budget without two members here, so.
Okay. You don't have to.
So what's the path forward if we approve the budget next meeting for the stormwater change? Is there a path forward?
We would just advertise for these specific changes.
I think they've been there.
Right, anytime you're changing the stormwater rates, you need to
Not Bill.
put notice in the newspaper
there.
that you're having a public hearing on it. And it can be wrapped into the budget ordinance, but from what I'm hearing, I don't think it was, yeah.
Good enough.
So we don't need to vote on it tonight, we'll just advertise it, do the public hearing on the 26th? Okay.
We're good for everything except for, like, we advertised for all the stormwater changes, like the new rate the board had agreed to. It's just this apartment wrinkle is what we need to advertise for.
Okay.
What's everybody's thought, though? Everybody agree with what Brad's recommending, making it a commercial property?
Yeah.
Right.
Be in favor
We
of
do
that.
have to know by June 15th is when we have to submit
Oh, yeah.
these updated
We-
numbers.
We do need to, that is a good point that Mr. Parker just made. We do need to kind of get the direction from the council so we can let the county know which way we're going on stormwater fees so that they can get it submitted.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I like option one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be option one, but we'll vote on the 26th.
Perfect. Thank you.
Are y'all comfortable with us telling the county that so they can get?
I am.
Okay. Okay.
All right, Twin Pines there.
Thank you all. Yeah, moving right along. So really wanted to give you an update about our stormwater program, our projects, our funding. So staff, I believe I came to y'all in April and gave you a stormwater program update. And at that moment in time, we had about 18 high priority projects on our list. And so happy to say that we've gotten that down to 10. And those remaining high priority projects, and again, these are major safety issues or threats to property loss and property damage is what we classify as high priority. And so, actually, I'm sorry, let me pull up the memo here. Getting ahead of myself. And so as mentioned, we do have 10 high priority projects on our list to be completed, and those are estimated at about $170,000 to complete those. And so the reason that's important is because the way we receive stormwater revenue is a little unique. And so I'll draw your attention to I thought I had it pulled up here. This cash flow chart that shows when we receive our revenue from the county for our stormwater fees. And so as you can see here, we don't receive our majority of our revenue until about the beginning of calendar year. And so the reason I bring that up is because to complete these high priority projects, we will have to dip below into our reserves underneath the council priority of $1 million in our reserves. Granted, we will come into calendar year, that will be replenished, but it is a council priority to maintain that $1 million, and just wanted to be transparent with y'all that we are kind of flirting that line as is. And so next piece of this is the unfortunate update that we received from the Golden Leaf Foundation, that we did not receive any funding for the Twin Pines Phase 2 project. And now the town is subject to fund that entire project in its entirety, which is estimated at about $260,000. 100 of that would be for design, and 160 of that is expected to be for construction of that project, that stream restoration and flood mitigation project. And so, all that being said, staff has run some very conservative projections for stormwater expenditures in the next fiscal year. And we do not believe that there will be enough funding available to complete all of our high priority projects, especially with the way this fiscal year played out with, as I mentioned, we had 18 coming in to the project update in April. So granted, we can't say for sure how that's gonna play out in '24, but again, preparing for the worst with that conservative projection there. So we do not think we will have enough funding available to complete these high priority projects, as well as complete the Twin Pines Phase 2 project as a whole, design and construction. And so in order to, staff would recommend increasing the amount of stormwater revenue coming into next fiscal year to allow us to complete our high priority projects, but also fund only the design of the Twin Pines Phase 2 project. And so we would seek to fund the design, get the design completed next fiscal year, and then in FY 2025, we would seek to fund the construction and implementation of that Twin Pines Phase 2 project. Staff believes there are two options to increase the amount of revenue for next fiscal year. Option one is reallocating $100,000 from our stormwater reserves into our maintenance and repair budget. And that would dip us below that $1 million. And again, just as a reminder, that is council priority to maintain that $1 million. But option two, and this is the staff recommended option, so we keep that goal of maintaining $1 million in our stormwater reserve, and that would be to increase the stormwater fee an additional $77 from the previously agreed upon 67, and raise that to 74 total per ERU and per residential lot. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions here, but staff is requesting council to increase that revenue with either option 1 or 2 tonight. And
Yeah, and Alex and I have had conversations about Golden Leaf. Him and Kevin gave me a call and you know, offered to, you know, contact our legislatures. And so we're gonna do that as soon as, you know, Alex and Kevin are gonna give me a cheat sheet so I can call Todd Johnson and Dean Arp up and ask them to look into this. So I don't know what the nature is of Golden Leaf Foundation, how much they're affected by the legislature, but I assume their funding comes from state tax, so hopefully they're held accountable. So that's one option.
I got two points, if I may, Mayor. One is a recent council action took the 260 out of the budget because we thought we were going to get and go. I remember removing it so that we could then apply. So just the point, we were planning on doing it anyway without the Golden Leaf. That was a nice thing to have. I'm sorry we didn't get it either. I would be in favor of dipping into reserves. To me, if I ask myself, why do we maintain $1 million reserve? It's for emergencies, and I think you just told me we've got some very high dangerous sinkholes happening in our community. Why would we not tap our reserve fund instead of raising the fee even higher than we already have? So I'm in favor of the option 1 that you presented tonight. I think that's why we have a reserve fund of $1 million.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, we set the $1 million a long time ago and just you know, having a large rainy day fund, but now's a rainy day. So,
Yeah.
so I have no problem dipping below the $1 million.
And I'm kind of more like option 3. If this is truly an emergency situation that we're trying to fix and then there's potential property damage, waiting 2 years to get to the implementation seems like, you know, we're running the risk of, you know, some type of hurricane coming through and having some type of damage. I'd almost say that, I mean, if these are truly emergency situations that need to get fixed, I'd be more in favor of just getting it done, because, I mean, that's my thought. I know it's more money and would dip into our rainy day fund, but if we're saying that it's an emergency because of the potential for damage to the homeowners, that's the whole reason why we have the stormwater fund and we do this work. If their houses get destroyed while we're waiting around for money, we've kind of failed the mission, in my way of thinking.
We've done some work out there. Again, this is in my district, so I'm very familiar, and I love the fact that you're saying that. And the people are really wonderful over there, and they've been very, very patient. I don't think we're waiting 2 years. That'd be my first point. I think I heard you say design would be complete this fiscal year, but you could let a contract to start construction first of next fiscal year, which could be as soon as summertime of next year, right? So a year. I would love to get it done earlier too, but I don't know how long your design's gonna take. And I believe you've done some work out there that have, at least at the first property or the second home in, I forget the person's name, that has made an improvement. Is that true?
yes, he had some severe
So when Steve
erosion.
says that, when Steve asks whether the homes are in danger of collapsing and being washed away, is that what you believe is happening out there now?
I don't believe so, because we did realign that stream, and that's kind of how we got into that issue with the Army Corps, because we did not get that permitted. So we are kind of, we did help fix that emergency issue of that one individual property where the bank was within feet of the corner of his house. So that situation was rectified, but now we have to come back and meet core requirements. and get fully permitted through the Army Corps of Engineers.
So hearing that, I'm with you, Steve. I'd like to just get this done tonight so they've got the funding to do the 1 million, excuse me, the 100,000 design. I would be amenable to a mid-year budget correction where we can say, due to cost, inflation, workload, or savings because the other ones didn't happen as expensively, let's go ahead and pull the trigger. Kevin and Alex have been out there multiple times. The mayor's been out there, so there's not a sense that we can let this go much further. So I'd love to get it done this fiscal year, coming fiscal year, if we can. But to get you moving, I'd be fine with dipping into the reserves for at least the design for now.
All right. Any other comments, questions?
Nope.
All right, can I get a motion?
I feel like I'm doing all the motioning unless Steve is.
I move that we move $100,000 from the Stormwater Reserve Fund. That is the first stop. That's the option you're asking, right?
I'll second that, yeah.
All right.
All right, is that clear?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Motion by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Richardson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
All righty, Alex, town manager, budget message.
All right. So recommended budget, I want to first thank the board for all the work that y'all have done on this. A number of meetings. Y'all have full-time jobs, families. Y'all have obligations, but you made a commitment. You made some tough decisions as we went through the process. And Councilmember Ayers was sharing with me how a lot of the citizens feel like, or have an understanding that y'all are full-time in your town roles, which is not the case. So I want to recognize that and say something you don't hear often. Thank you. I'd also like to thank the town staff. This was not an easy budget. It was one of the more difficult ones I've been a part of, just because of all the rising costs that we've had. And I asked staff to go back to the well several times to kind of make cuts as best they can, with the priority of keeping services at the same rate, and they did so without complaint and honestly and with integrity. So I want to thank our staff too for all the work y'all have done too.
They complain behind your back.
If I don't hear it, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So I want to kind of talk about this budget the way that we would tell a story. And I've structured that based on the priorities that the board has set. So first thing that we focused on was downtown creation. We put funding in for the building. We funded a number of different events. We funded some enhancements at the parks. I believe Parks is set to have about 18 events. Is that right, Eunice? 18 events, which is a lot. That's a big jump up. So we're really trying to activate this entire space, really get it even more so like the center of the community, getting people here, making it the magnet for activity. And also kind of make the best of the sewer situation that we find ourselves in. Well, at the same time, not sitting on our laurels and trying to control our destiny with the sewer. Having a sewer capacity study done to evaluate, all right, what are our sewer capacity needs as a community? And what are the options that we may have at our disposal to make sure that sewer is there so that we can create the downtown that the board envisioned. Additionally, continue to maximize positive development around the hospital and light rail. This is another reoccurring priority the board has had. And you can see now we've made great progress since the previous fiscal year. Mr. Shong has gone out and gotten us a $100,000 grant. Good job, Max. I remember Mr. Walton, our facilitator, commented to me how impressed he was just the amount of workload that our planning department is doing in-house with this kind of stuff. So we're doing a lot there. And what that'll do, that'll really update a lot of our plans in that area, small area plan work, comprehensive land use plan, transit overlay district. Because both the hospital and the light rail landing there, you've heard me talk about it this way, it's like an alien space, it's like two alien spaceships just landed in the middle there as far as affecting our land use plan. And so I think it's really smart for y'all to have the vision to want to do this. So I commend the board for that. The next item on here, this isn't really part of the annual budget, but I wanted to mention it because I know it's important to the board, is encouraging the completion of critical state intersection projects, specifically the Potter and Pleasant Plains intersection. That is hopefully per NCDOT going to get let December time frame, and the town, by our estimate, is going to be spending approximately $2 million, not including staff and council time on that project. So I did want to mention that. And then finally, one of the things that the board said during the annual retreat is, hey, these priorities are important, but we don't want to lose sight of our bread and butter, our core town services. And we want to be able to maintain our public services at a certain level, attract and retain high-quality staff, evaluate revenue sources. And so we've done that in this budget a variety of ways, whether it's giving law enforcement the vehicles, the equipment they need, to putting in funding for additional street resurfacing, street sweeping, sanitation, trash, accounting for that increased sanitation fee. We've really tried to make sure we're investing not only on the new stuff, making sure our bread and butter is solid too. Going into the general fund, as a whole, it's increasing about 2.2%. You can see here from an expenditure standpoint, the police department is by far the largest budget. That's not unusual. In case I don't think I've ever seen a situation where it's not in the general fund. So that's normal. These percentages, the breakdown, that's pretty typical for what you see. Position count by department, again, police department obviously is our highest positions. Again, pretty typical.
We supposed to ask questions, right?
Sure.
So you said that our expenses
Mhm.
have only gone up about 2.2%.
Yep.
So
Gone down, yeah.
gone down?
Yeah. You got to keep in mind, though, that's a bit of it could be, I don't want to say misleading, that it's purposely misleading, but you need to look under the hood a little bit more. Because sometimes you'll have like large one-off expenditures. Like I think there was a pass-through, if I recall correctly, related to that intersection Indian Trail from the hospital to us, Station Jail. So those kind of things, the TIA reports, can kind of skew the numbers a little bit. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. That's just overall big picture, but there's more to it. Revenue review. So obviously, as you all know, our largest revenue source are ad valorem property taxes paid on properties, vehicles, equipment for businesses, things like that. Second largest is sales tax. That's typical across the state for jurisdictions. So those are our largest reoccurring revenues, and you can see the breakdown here of where the money comes from. Roughly half property taxes. And when you take out the federal sources, I believe that's the ARPA funding, right, Jimmy? Those percentages will grow even bigger. The tax rate, what I heard from the board members was that, hey, we want to keep that in the same, and we had to do a revenue neutral rate. This is probably too much in the weeds, but because we have a small slice of Mecklenburg County, we had to show a revenue neutral rate for that area, and that revenue neutral rate is 19.3 cents. So according to the budget, their taxes effectively are going down a little bit. So this is an important thing, and nothing new, but I think it's bears highlighting because, overall total revenue remains flat. And I don't mean they're zero, I mean they're less than inflation, right? When you're factoring, because inflation is driving a lot of our costs. Revenues aren't keeping pace with that. And just to reiterate the 5-year financial forecast, projected operational expenditures will likely exceed revenues in the future. And so there likely won't be an excess of new revenue received to cover core operational expenses as a baseline or to add and expand those programs and services. So the ARPA funds are finite and will likely be used up in the next fiscal year. Our current strategy obviously is a sound one, but it's short term. And a future tax race, and likely a significant one, is imminent in order to kind of maintain the service delivery plus any amount for desired street maintenance above the Fowlville levels to kind of maintain the fiscal health of the organization, maintain our reserve funds, and keep services going. So fund balance, you can see, I really want to commend this board and past boards. Really have a healthy fund balance level. The town is in great financial shape. You can see here the town is required to set aside 8% of expenditures, and the town, being operated fiscally conservatively, has said that's not good enough. We want to go above the minimum and have 20% of our expenditures being reserved. And you can see that additional 20% here. That's what this number is. And then even above that, the town has additional reserves as well. And you can see the unrestricted amount here. Proprietary fund, we talked a little bit about that now. It's about $1 million. You may say, hey, Alex, why did you tell us that it's about $1 million we've got right now in reserves, but it says 1.7, over 1.7 million. And the reason why is from an accounting perspective, when you're taking into consideration net position, it's different in the general fund versus in the proprietary stormwater fund, because you're counting all the infrastructure that's in the ground too, not just the cash that we have on hand. So stormwater fund, you can see it's been kind of choppy lately because we've plugged the gap with some reserves. And the board looked at it, I guess, last fiscal year during the budget development process and said, hey, staff, we've got some concerns about whether, in the future, what were our rates, are they sufficient? And so we did an analysis. We had an in-depth discussion. And the rate that was settled on was $67 for both residential parcels and $67 for the ERU, which is the equivalent unit that we charge for commercial establishments. Obviously, the rate's never gone up, but everything else has, inflation, construction, and we've talked about that at length. So fee schedule, we've talked about a number of different changes. I would consider those changes relatively minor, other than the stormwater fee. So I won't get into those. And we continue to kind of progress with our 5-year capital improvement plan, really trying to make sure we invest in our organization, in our parks, in our infrastructure, our streets, that kind of thing. So that's it. Again, I want to thank you, Mayor, the board, and all our staff that have spent so much time, all the public that have provided input and feedback on all the various different things. Happy to answer any questions or stand aside and let y'all discuss anything that you want to discuss.
Well, Alex, thank you for your leadership. Any questions for Alex or any comments?
I do have, so after everything was said and done, what's the difference that we're covering with the general fund now to make a balanced budget?
Barbara, let's go down and look at this. Jamie, do you know off the top of your head? Yeah, right here.
And that's ARPA funds. You're not making an appropriation from unrestricted general fund balance, which is a good thing.
So it's 600,000 or
Yes.
where's that total price, I guess?
Right here, 2,043,000.
So
You
we're
can
gonna
see
be
that.
pulling a total 2 million out of the funds, but $1 million of that's gonna be, $1.2 million is gonna be police officer salary.
Are you referencing that initial chart that Alex put together of the one-offs?
What I'm trying to understand is we're basically balancing the budget by pulling money from the general fund, right?
So if you think of it this way, you are using your ARPA federal money to free up the equivalent general fund tax dollars. So when you put in your ARPA money, you're putting that towards your salaries for police, your other one-time asks. And then that's leaving this equivalent pot of tax dollars to do other things.
Okay, but I thought the ARPA fund, so I know the rules have changed like 3 times, but so effectively, to balance the budget this year, we're using the ARPA funds.
Yes, so there's several factors to that. So the first is, this is probably the list of things that if we didn't have ARPA funds, we would need to fund out of reserves. Plus, the board added additional, I believe it was $600,000. Is that right? 600, Kevin? Is that right? Stormwater for street resurfacing, in addition to the PAL bill level. So some of these things are things that we would probably fund from reserves anyway. For example, the Blair Mill Park Greenway, that's a carryover from last year, so we would naturally do the reserves.
Right.
But ultimately, you're looking at probably that amount to kind of fund. A lot of this is kind of just operations, but also some of the priority things.
Okay. I guess my concern here is that it feels like we're not really using, feels like we're over budget and we're not really, I mean, we went through this place where we were taking, and I know that this was probably talked about the week I was out. My concern here is it sounds like we're using ARPA funds just to balance the budget and not effectively freeing up the equivalent amount of money in the general fund anymore. It's just effectively faking us out in the fact that we're gonna have a balanced budget, but we really don't have a balanced budget. We're really just have an extra pool of funds that we're gonna pull from to make it balance out. So, I mean, I'll be honest, I feel like we're somewhat losing $1 million, and I know that could be applied in the future, but it sounds like we've already talked about it. But my concern here is that we're gonna use effectively $1 million-ish to balance the budget that could be applied somewhere else. And I know that we're healthy and we can take that, but at the same time, it feels like we're punting a decision that's going to have to be made at some point, because that's not a viable solution next year or the year after. And I'm not sure why, and I'm just throwing it out here. My concern is that in punting it down the road, we're basically throwing away $1 million. And whether or not that's the right thing to do, or whether we should address the issue this year, or and keep that $1 million, or not spend that $1 million so that it continues to be there. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not that great at explaining, but it just kind of feels like we're kicking a major gap a year down the road and not really addressing it this year, because we have the magical ARPA funds available to us. But it seems like, and y'all all know, I like to spend money. That's not a problem. My concern here is that it feels like we're throwing away that money, and I'm not somebody who likes to throw away money. I don't know, but I'll shut up at this point, and
No, thanks for letting us know your thoughts.
I don't like federal government balancing a budget methodology, just to be blunt. So maybe China would give us this money.
Well, to answer your question, the first one, how much money do we having to take out of a reserve to balance the budget? It's around 2 million, 2.2 million. So, but $1 million of that is ARPA funds, so. But where are they gonna be next year? They won't be there, so how do we make up for it? Any other questions, comments for Alex? Then we'll vote for, the budget on the 26th. No questions?
No.
All right. Thank you, Alex. All righty, number 7, 325 Stallings Road, possible commercial renovations. I hope everybody read that, the amount, $280,000 to renovate a 1,500 square foot house. You can tear it down and rebuild it for less than that, so,
Anybody in favor of it?
anybody in favor of it? No.
I would just punt it.
Yeah.
I make a motion to not do that.
Second the motion to do that.
Would you like staff to look into any other alternatives?
Just out of curiosity, I'm like with the mayor. I mean, you could probably tear it down and rebuild it for that much. What is all that? I mean, literally, what does that take and do to that place over there?
What that 280 would extend across, essentially? Yeah, so a lot of ADA upgrades, improving the electrical, the MEP throughout the building. But the biggest thing is the ADA upgrades. The hallways throughout that building are very narrow. The bathrooms are not ADA compliant. And so we're just reconfiguring it and making it ADA and building code, meeting those requirements. And that involves some exterior upfits as well, ADA ramps, things of that nature. So the general contractor staff met with gave us about $200 a square foot is a good number nowadays for upfitting these types of buildings.
All right, we appreciate you working on that, Kevin, but,
Do we want to discuss whether we'd want to look into demoing it? So my concern is anytime you have a property that's sitting vacant, chief can speak to it if you would like, but it's a attractive nuisance for certain people you might not want that could go in there and start using it. They could also get hurt. I'm not in favor of spending money ever, really. But I also don't want necessarily something that could be a huge liability for the town. And then also, it's a house right now. Anyone driving by goes, oh, it's a house. They might not know, wait, that's actually land I could potentially develop on if I'm a developer. You're just a developer driving through. You see an empty lot, you go, hey, I wonder, what can I do? So I'm just wondering, was it something we'd want to look into? Direct staff to look into the cost?
But maybe somebody might want to come in and I was gonna say make the changes themselves, but you said the hallways and stuff like that. Like we did at the salon, like we made it ADA compliant.
Sounds
But
like
we
it's going
didn't
to
have to
cost them
move walls.
$280,000.
We didn't have to move walls though.
And that's my concern. Like, that's now public knowledge, so it's out there. It's going to cost you $280,000. You would have to have a very lucrative business.
What I heard
maybe
is-
meth.
What I heard is Heather said she just did her place.
DIY.
That's right.
well, yeah, get us the cost on demo.
Sure.
And, if the fire department needs a controlled burn or not, so, it's close to town hall, but.
Wasn't there one time we had talked about if somebody wanted to buy it to move it? Or we would pay them to, do y'all remember that?
Vaguely.
And do, I think Ms. Paxton.
Like you could
might
have a
researched
house
that.
if you moved it yourself?
Can't remember the conclusion, forgive me.
And we've got there's a pretty big outbuilding out there, isn't there?
It's a nice, yeah, there's a big shed, multi-story.
Yeah, I don't know if that might be useful to the town in any way, shape, or form.
Keep it there, even if you demolish the.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a nice shed. Could be a place we could store equipment.
We'll get a cost for, I seem to recall when we did this before, you know, there'll probably be some hazardous type stuff that we need to, you know, take care of and have a survey done, and then, I'm gonna guess it's gonna be about 15,000 or something, but we'll.
And we don't want to sell it?
Yeah, we can explore that if the board would like.
Yeah. Remember the long-term plan, though, was to acquire that. We acquired one.
Yeah, so that you would have control over what goes.
The three up the Community Park Drive, so I don't mind the exercise of demolition, but as far as selling that one piece, it probably wouldn't be conducive to sort of what we were thinking long-term. More of a retail strip along that. I didn't mean to say the word strip, but retail.
And then just one thing, so on the water issue, is it only, are you grandfathered in only if the structure is still there, or is the lot actually? So if we demolished it, could someone build? And would they be able to? Yeah.
Sort of thing.
It's a good question. We're asking some somewhat similar questions with the tractor dealership, and we're still waiting from a response from the county. So good questions. We don't know the answer yet.
Okay, I'm gonna ask
I
one.
don't know if you are grandfathered in, because the salon that's going in down the street, I don't know that for a fact. But I know sewer was her. Do you remember that, Max?
I don't know that it was
A beer.
sewer, I thought it was the roadway connection. But I haven't talked to her about sewer.
Okay. She did mention something about, but I don't know specifically what it was.
Typically, if you change the use, then you're no longer grandfathered in, or you expand the business or do some
That's
sort of
what it
improvements
was,
and development,
yes.
then you lose your grandfathering status typically.
So I'm gonna ask the other question. I mean, obviously, if this is a house, somebody was living in it, so it may, I don't know what kind of general condition it's in, but, I mean, if we don't have any plans for it, and I know that you're gonna hurt me for asking this, but I'm gonna ask it. I mean,
Steve wants to
what-
live there.
huh?
You want to move in?
No, but I mean, but at the same token,
Into the shed.
why
Into
not?
the shed.
Why not lease it or rent it out in this short term?
No, it's a good question. It's not in great condition. It's my first reaction, not having an analysis done on it, but
It's a little rough for wear.
it is, there might be some money we need to put into it to get it ready to rent. What's your perspective, Mr. Parker?
Yeah, the floors are in pretty bad shape.
Let's take a field trip.
Do that.
My initial reaction is we probably have to put some money into it if we want it. Just, it's not in good shape on the.
Okay, I mean, that answers my question. I mean, if it was move-in ready or close to move-in ready,
Sure.
then instead of talking about spending money, why don't we make it a revenue generator, even though I know it would be a headache, but I mean, if it's gonna cost us 50 grand, it would take 10 years, 5 years to recoup that probably, so.
All right, get us a cost on demo.
I can do that.
There.
Sir.
All right, thank you, Kevin.
Thank y'all.
Mayor, I thought I heard Councilmember Richardson make a motion and Councilmember Grooms
Oh,
second
to
that,
not do it.
to not move forward.
Not move forward. Make a motion to not move forward on the commercial renovations, but we would ask staff to get a cost for demolition, so
Oh,
second
okay.
that.
And I'll second that.
No.
All right,
All in-
Richardson and Grooms, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you, Melanie. All right, Stephen, sewer resolutions passed by other jurisdictions.
All right, so this is more along the lines of the fact that I represent the town at the WUMA meeting. As I'm sure everybody at this table knows, several of our other partner municipalities that participate in WUMA has passed resolutions that, you know, try to address the sewer resolution and the disconnect between what they believe we should be doing and what the county commissioners should be doing. So I guess for me, I'm bringing this here because obviously one of the things that we're part of WUMA is to kind of discuss kind of hot topics and, you know, whether or not we're going to follow suit and kind of just discuss our position on a potential showing of support for our other WUMA members, or we're going to go down a different path. I know this is a very double-edged sword, if you will. I mean, on one hand, you know, we probably have, you know, a lot to lose with no sewer. Obviously, a lot of our major plans have been put on the back burner, both at the hospital and downtown. But at the other end of the spectrum, from a political point of view, I mean, we're going to need the support of the county commissioners if we're decide to go forward with looking into tapping into Mecklenburg County. And so, you know, I wanted to bring this to the council for discussion and kind of get folks' feedback. Like I said, it's, everybody here knows that it's a hot political topic. So the way we handle this is probably needs to be really, really graceful. So I'll leave it there and kind of just throw it to you for any type of discussion.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Any comments?
Do you have any?
Yeah, I got some.
I mentioned to Alex today when this came up, Steve, I've read the resolutions and understand what they did. I'm having trouble passing a resolution here because while I'm aware of the resolutions and I watched a couple county commission meetings about the sewer study and rate, I'm still unclear about their path forward. We have a resident in our town that's on the board that votes in the majority. I don't know her personally. I'd love to have an audience with her to understand a little bit more. It doesn't have to be a public meeting. It can be a coffee with her. I just want to understand more about what they're doing before I jump onto the resolution train as well. I don't think it's a terrible idea. I also think I'm not ready to do it. That's my thoughts.
Well, I agree, yeah. Melissa hadn't come since she's been on the county commissioner, so yeah, we need to set something up rather than something informal where she comes to town hall, I mean, over the, or just meets with us.
Okay.
You know, talk one-on-one, what they're planning on doing, because, you know, I talked to Stoney on a regular basis, and it's unclear what they're gonna do, but I trust Melissa, so I'd like to hear what she has to say.
I mean, yeah, like I said, this is, I'm more bringing this as the liaison for WUMA than any particular,
All right,
position.
all right, well, appreciate you bringing it in. That's what we'll talk to Melissa and
Okay.
see how things transpire.
If possible, I'd like to be on that meeting just so that
Sure.
I can pass that back to the WUMA group. All right?
Now, are we the largest town in the WUMA group?
Waxhaw would be the largest.
Waxhaw.
Yep. And Indian Trail has been coming sporadically, but they have a conflicting meeting for a couple of the last meetings.
Gotcha.
So,
All righty. Well, thank you, Stephen. All right, number 9, closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143 318.11A6. Can I get a motion? Go into closed session.
A motion to
Motion by Ms. Grooms,
move into closed session.
second by Ms. Ayers. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All righty. Y'all